welcome back to Amity Bloom. My name is Nazy. Today I wanted to show you this fairy custom journal for a lovely lady named May. Hello May, if you're watching. Her favorite colors is purple, so I kind of played on those tones, kind of monotones of pink and purple and magenta. And so this is the cover, this is the lovely fairy image, and then I just collaged some lace. And on the side, since this is for a traveler's notebook, I love how the overhang of textiles and like ribbons and lace are in the actual traveler's notebook, and I was so inspired by Nick the Booksmith's lace and fabric tabs, and also Jabid. She also adds little bookmarks with like charms, and it's just so beautiful. So I definitely recommend you to check out those two channels. But here's the cover. Opening it up. Starting out here is the little mini pocket, and I created a little tag. I love creating tags with adding some book pages stitched onto there and maybe adding a little bit of fabric or a button into that lace pocket. And then here is a really beautiful floral die cut paper, and then I added one of my fabric tip-ins, but I cut it in the shape of the circle that is inside of the paper, so I thought that would be really cute. And I loved how that ended up looking. Some lace tabs. Here is one of my fabric pockets, and inside I've included some vintage notes. I'm obsessed with this. This is some thread, some metallic thread that's from Italy. Let me show you in camera. This gorgeous thread, I actually came across it, and it was made in Italy, and if you put it in the sunlight, it glistens, and this reminded me so much of fairy wings, so I decided to include that on the side of the paper. This is kind of cute. Here's the paper flip out, and then in here I created a little pocket, and then here is a little pocket, and then also a little text spot in there. And then what is in here? Oh, it's a little fairy quote that I've included in there, but I thought that was so cute, and it says a dictionary of fairy trees, and so I just created multiple text spots. And then here's also a tag that I ended up sewing together, and so that hides behind the paper flap. Here's another pocket, and inside I created another floral tag with some buttons. She said she loved flowers and that she loved the color purple, so that was kind of the theme that I went with. She also loved animals, of course. Any fairy journal needs to have some flowers and some animals. Here's a lace pocket. Some more of those fabric bookmarks. And here is an envelope, and in the envelope I stenciled out this really pretty floral pattern. And then on the back, I thought it would be really fun to add another pocket on the back of the envelope. And so here's a doily that also is a perfect little text spot. And then on this page, this is a paper flip out. And this is actually part of an image from a vintage flower arrangement book that I had. And I cut it out, I made a little pocket out of it. And then this is also a little tuck spot. So you got a tuck spot there, and then you have an actual pocket in here. And so I loved it because it looks like it's stapled onto there. That was really cute. This is what I'm excited about. This is something new that I created. So I took some fake leaves. I found some fake leaves, and I wanted to incorporate them into my journals, into my fairy journals. And so I positioned the leaves, and then I just took my sewing machine through them just to make it look like a little tree branch. And I've added some thread. I don't know if you can see it on camera. I've added some thread, and I've sewn that onto there to make it look a little bit more rustic. And then in the pocket, I took this beautiful watercolored image, created a pocket, and then you can journal on the back. So I love this page. I'm going to be doing this too. I think all of my fairy journals from now on, just because fairies live outside in nature, in trees and flowers, and I really wanted to represent that. This is really cute too. So here is another pocket. It's a double pocket. In the back, there is an image of a fairy, this beautiful fairy card, and then in this little lace pocket is actually a fragrance sachet. All of my journals, I think I'll try to do this for most of my journals, but it's just a scrap piece of paper, and I've sewed on some fragrance scents into this pouch. And so it's completely sealed. It won't go away, but if you can hear it, And when you smell it, it smells amazing. And this flavor is actually sage and citrus. And then I just decorated it with some lace. And so this not only makes your little sachet smell good, but it makes the journal smell really nice. So I thought that was such a cute idea that I could add to my journals just to make them a little bit more special and to make them smell good. Since the pages, I do coffee stain them. The pages smell like coffee, but I wanted it to have a nice fruity floral scent. And on this page is one of my fabric flip outs, and I stitched on there some lace on the bottom, added some script and some buttons, and I loved how this ended up looking. So beautiful. And then here's some more little sequin borders. Here is another beautiful pocket, and then in here is some of those vintage typewriter papers that I found at my at the Scott's Antique Market. Some more lace bookmarks. I love this lace. It's one of my favorite pieces of lace. Just a little flip out here. This was inspired 1000% by our lovely Javid Neary, and in one of her journals she did this to one of her pages where she took paper, lace, and fabric, stitched it down the center, and it made it something like this, and I thought it was so beautiful. And since I always have scraps of fabric and lace left over from the journals, I thought it would be really cute to create the same thing as she did. So thank you so much, David, for that wonderful idea. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's like the fairy went and put the little pieces of cloth, and it looks so dainty and cute, and it's perfect in here. And then here is some lace. Here is some ruffles. Flips out. I love this paper with the bird and the script. And then on the back is a little mini pocket, and in here, of course, I have my little fairy wing and this little fairy quote that I found. So that is that. I love the fairy wing. All of the fairy journals, of course, come with a fairy wing sample, and I think it just makes it that more magical. So that is this journal. I hope that you guys liked it. This probably has been my favorite fairy journal that I have created, just because my favorite colors are purples and lilacs and lavenders, and so this was completely up my alley, and I had so much fun creating it. So I hope you like it, May. And today I'm back in my garden once again, because I know all of you loved whenever I filmed in my garden. Let me know if you guys would like to see a little tour of the garden. It was my father's idea to kind of have multiple garden styles in one yard. Just thriving with light, with life in the springtime, so I would be more than happy to film that. Oh, sounds like some aliens. Where should we film it? I'll film it in my favorite spot, near the water. Let's go. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard of flowers. Okay, so let me flip. All right, so let me flip the camera over. Ah! You can see my little puppy. Oh, head animal, head animal, head animal. He got a haircut recently, so he's a little shy.